Hi, Christy. How you doing? Okay, so I was just reading your writing. It's very fun to create. Rebus is a blast, isn't it? I love doing these. It's so much fun. It never gets old. I've been doing Rebus for many, many years, and it just never gets old. It's so fun. Great practice, too. Use the color to group the items together. Let's form the letters. I was going to add a plus between symbols. I don't think you need that, so let's go ahead and jump right over to it. Now, I was looking for a PDF, or there's no PDF, so I can't really zoom in, so I'm going to have to be doing some scrolling. So let's go ahead. Now, the first thing I see is that we're looking at 8.5 by 11, right, with a 1-inch outline, but this seems like it's more than an inch here. So you just adjust that. So just make sure we follow this requirement, the 1-inch outline, I'm sorry, the 1-inch border on all sides. Just make sure that's true to 1 inch. 8.5 by 11. Okay, so this is great. Good job. Now, as far as the rebus goes itself, the communication is there. I mean, it's very clear. It's very successful. It works perfectly. Um, Great communication. This is definitely effective. Now, in terms of the composition and the illustrative style, I do have a couple of recommendations. First of all, we jump back to that specifications page, right? And we're saying, okay, so you submit a black and white and a color. Well, let's distinguish the difference between grayscale and black and white. Okay, there is a difference. Black and white means exactly that, black on white. Okay, no tonal variation. So in other words, it's black on white, but no tones of gray in between, like we have here, and these different tones of gray, right? So that's the first thing. So that when you hear black and white, that's what it means, black and white. This is grayscale. Grayscale means a black to white with all of the 256 tones of gray in between. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is required to be black and white. Okay, so make those appropriate changes. As far as the color version goes, Robert had suggested maybe adding a small stroke, and I agree. I would go to the watch, the pot, and the oil can, and maybe even the international no sign, and just add a very, very thin 1 pixel stroke to the contour lines. You don't have to add them to the holes. The holes, you might even just go black with the holes to increase the contrast there. The whole thing we're trying to do here is improve contrast. So a thin hairline stroke around the contour lines of the watch, the pot, the international no sign, and the oil can. At that point, think about your color choices. Right now, your color choices are displaying very, very, very little contrast. So, and a good way to test for contrast is to zoom out and take a look at it, and you'll see things starting to disappear when we zoom smaller. We don't want that. That points to lacking contrast. So try those. Other than that, I think that those little couple of recommendations I think are going to work perfectly. Oh, by the way, when you do transpose this to black, you might, depending on how thick the strokes are, the little black strokes, you may consider removing the strokes when you convert this to black on white. The reason being is because they're with the black stroke in color, it's just going to outline. In black and white, it's going to make the watch band thicker, make the watch wider. It's going to really make things much thicker because the black stroke is on top of a black illustration, right? That should make sense. Okay, so those are my recommendations. I'd love to see you try those changes, and you've done a fantastic job on the project so far, so looking at good things here. All right, thank you very much for sharing. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. Thanks, Kristi.